Welcome back to TechVerse Reviews 321, your trusted hub for the latest tech insights. Today we're exploring the top upcoming mobile phones of December 2025, packed with power, innovation, and next-gen features you'll want to know before upgrading your smartphone. Number 1, OnePlus 15R Review December 2025. OnePlus has confirmed a launch date for its next mid-range phone, the OnePlus 15R, but that isn't the most exciting thing here. The OnePlus 15 launched recently to generally positive reviews, but there's another handset in the mix. The OnePlus 15R promises to offer a similarly epic level of stamina with only a slight step down in performance, all at a significantly lower price. We don't know everything about the OnePlus 15R just yet, but OnePlus has revealed a global launch date, December 17, 2025. Here's everything we know about the phone so far, plus a device launching alongside it that I think is even more interesting. So far, OnePlus has only confirmed that the 15R will be available in the two colors shown below, charcoal black and mint breeze, and that it'll have a flat metal mid-frame. The phone will also boast a full range of water and dust resistance ratings: IP66, IP68, IP69 and IP69K. The OnePlus 15R looks a lot like the OnePlus Ace 6, which has already launched in China. That phone launched with a Snapdragon 8 Elite processor, a massive 7,800 mAh battery, 120W fast charging, a 50MP main camera, and an 8MP ultra-wide. Will the OnePlus 15R follow suit, or change things up on the internal spec count? Good as the OnePlus 15R might be, I've got my eye on another device that's confirmed to launch on December 17th. The OnePlus Watch Lite, which the company says is a device designed to bring flagship-level health and fitness features to an even more accessible price point, holds plenty of promise. These remarks suggest that it'll almost certainly be cheaper than the $319/$349.99 OnePlus Watch 3. It's unclear if the Watch Lite will be available in the US as well as the UK. OnePlus has remained relatively tight-lipped about the Watch Lite specs, but the design shown above bears similarities to the more premium wearable. Downgrades compared to the Watch 3 are almost inevitable, but in which areas? And will it even run Wear OS? There's also a chance it'll be the OnePlus branded equivalent of the Oppo Watch S, itself a super skinny alternative to the Oppo Watch 2, which launched last month. Regardless, I'm very glad to see that a new cheap smartwatch is entering the ring. If the Watch 3 is anything to go by, it could be one of the most competitive wearables in its price bracket. The OnePlus Pad Go 2 will be launching at the same time. As with the Watch Lite, this looks set to be a cheaper version of the OnePlus Pad 3. How much cheaper though? That remains to be seen. Number 2, Vivo X300 Pro December in 2025. The Vivo X300 Pro sports one of the most impressive smartphone cameras now. My review set comes with a photography kit, last seen on the China-only Vivo X200 Ultra, that includes a telephoto extender. But that's just the icing on the cake, and only the most dedicated users would probably even consider getting this pricey add-on. Instead, I believe users will be blown away by the quality of this phone's camera, and well, the phone itself, which is right up there with current flagships in features and performance. Unfortunately, the Vivo X300 Pro is also as expensive as the best smartphones at 1,599 Singapore dollars. More so if you're tempted by the telephoto extender, 299 Singapore dollars, and the companion grip kit, 199 Singapore dollars. You do get a bunch of freebies, including a 300 Singapore dollar discount, a Vivo smartwatch, and a pair of Vivo wireless earbuds if you pre-order now, till November 21st. With these freebies, especially the discount, the Vivo X300 Pro becomes a good deal for a flagship phone. Otherwise, it's not that clear-cut. The Oppo Find X9 Pro, for example, also launched at 1,599 Singapore dollars, but is now selling at 1,449 Singapore dollars. Not to mention that flagships launched earlier this year are much cheaper now. The huge camera bump is the first thing you'll notice about the Vivo X300 Pro. This means that the smartphone display is tilted slightly towards the user when it's lying flat in portrait orientation. Nice for doom-scrolling TikTok, I suppose. The phone design is obviously inspired by the iPhone. The slightly curved back of the X200 Pro has given way to a flat front and glass back with smooth, rounded corners. It feels smooth and slippery in the hand. Haptics are excellent, and the fingerprint sensor feels fast and accurate. There's even a shortcut button that mimics the iPhone's action button. You can either press and hold or tap this button twice to perform a task, such as turning on the flashlight or turning on silent mode. This can be customized in the settings via an interface that's practically identical to the one on the iPhone. The Vivo X300 Pro also has its own take on the iPhone's dynamic island feature. There are other examples, but you get the idea. At 226G, the Vivo X300 Pro is almost as hefty as the iPhone 17 Pro Max. The camera bump also makes it top-heavy. You'd think that it would pack a huge battery, but it's only 6,510 mAh. That's significantly smaller than the 7,500 mAh battery found in other Chinese flagships such as the Xiaomi 17 Pro Max and the Oppo Find X9 Pro. The Vivo X300 Pro easily lasts more than a day at the maximum screen resolution. In Mark's battery life test, it clocked 11 hours and 58 minutes, which is about 50 minutes longer than the Samsung Galaxy S25 Ultra and 30 minutes longer than the Google Pixel 10 Pro XL, although these phones have smaller batteries. The screen looks great, bright, peaking at 4,500 nits, and punchy, with ultra-slim bezels, 1.1 mm according to Vivo. It's an LTPO display that can go down to 1 nits brightness and up to 120 Hz refresh rate when required. There's support for both HDR10+ and Dolby Vision formats. In particular, the display absolutely nailed the mood and looked super crisp with bright highlights in Netflix's Frankenstein. But undoubtedly, the Vivo X300 Pro's most impressive feature is the camera system. For the main 50MP camera, colors look natural and spot-on. There's plenty of detail, noise is barely noticeable, and well-controlled even in low-light conditions. Night shots looked great, with no blooming from highlights and without any overexposure. And there are lots of styles, including a street photography camera mode, in the camera app that alter the final look of your photos. Portrait shots, in particular, were detailed and had good separation with a nice bokeh. Selfies, too, benefit from the upgraded front camera with accurate skin tones and good details. The 200MP telephoto camera supposedly uses a custom Samsung sensor. It offers up to 100x zoom, but that's not its most useful feature. Instead, the 3.5x optical zoom is excellent, especially for taking close-ups. The Vivo X300 Pro comes with the new Origin OS 6 user interface. It feels fast and modern with fluid animations, albeit influenced heavily by iOS. Vivo continues to push a bunch of games and apps to the user. It's relatively easy to remove or ignore, but having to deal with bloatware on a premium smartphone is disappointing. Common AI features for editing images and text summaries are integrated into the respective system apps. Vivo also promises that the user interface will remain smooth and responsive even after 5 years. And I have no reason to believe otherwise because so far, it performs like a champ. Its MediaTek Dimensity 9500 chipset edges out the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen 4 used in many 2025 flagships. In Geekbench 6, the Vivo 3403 for single and 10010 for multi even runs the Apple iPhone 17 Pro Max, 3715 for single and 9497 for multi. Close. Syfola. Do note that this powerful chipset gets warm when running an intensive app or game. There is a good amount of throttling in 3DMark's Wildlife Extreme stress test. Performance declined by 57%. But the Vivo X300 Pro's best and worst 3DMark scores still beat the iPhone's. In short, you can confidently run all your games at the highest setting. Number 3, Redmi 15C December 2025. The Redmi 15C 5G was launched in India on Wednesday, following its debut in select global markets in September. It arrives as a budget handset and the successor to the Redmi 14C, which was introduced in January this year. The Redmi 15C 5G is powered by the MediaTek Dimensity 6300 chipset, coupled with up to 8GB of RAM and 128GB of onboard storage. The new handset from the Xiaomi subsidiary has a 50-megapixel dual rear camera system and an IP64 rated dust and splash resistance build. The Redmi 15C 5G was launched in India on Wednesday, following its debut in select global markets in September. It arrives as a budget handset and the successor to the Redmi 14C, which was introduced in January this year. The Redmi 15C 5G is powered by the MediaTek Dimensity 6300 chipset, coupled with up to 8GB of RAM and 128GB of onboard storage. The new handset from the Xiaomi subsidiary has a 50-megapixel dual rear camera system and an IP64 rated dust and splash resistance build. The Redmi 15C 5G price in India begins at 12,499 rupees for the base variant with 4GB of RAM and 128GB of onboard storage. It is also available in 6GB and 8GB RAM variants, priced at 13,999 rupees and 15,499 rupees, respectively. As per the company, the Redmi 15C 5G is sold in 3 colorways: Midnight Black, Moonlight Blue and Dusk Purple. It can be purchased via Amazon and the Xiaomi India online store beginning December 11th. The dual SIM, Nano Plus Nano. Redmi 15C 5G runs on HyperOS 2, based on Android 15. It is promised to receive 2 years of OS upgrades and 4 years of SMR updates. The handset sports a 6.9-inch HD+, 720 by 1600 pixels, adaptive sync display with a 120Hz refresh rate and 240Hz touch sampling rate. It has an 810 nits peak brightness and comes with TUV Rhineland's low blue light, flicker-free, and circadian-friendly certifications. The Redmi 15C 5G is powered by up to 8GB of LPDDR4X RAM and 128GB of UFS 2.2 onboard storage. It supports an additional 8GB virtual RAM expansion. For optics, the Redmi handset has a 50-megapixel AI dual rear camera setup with an f/1.8 aperture and an 8-megapixel front-facing camera for selfies and video calls. As per the company, the Redmi 15C 5G measures 171.56 by 79.47 by 8.05 mm in terms of dimensions and tips the scales at 211G. It carries a 3.5 mm headphone jack, side-mounted fingerprint sensor, IR blaster, ambient light sensor, e-compass, and an accelerometer. The phone comes with an IP64 rating for protection against dust and water ingress. Thanks for watching at TechVerse Reviews 321. If these upcoming December 2025 phones excite you, don't forget to like, subscribe and share. Stay tuned for more detailed reviews, comparisons and tech breakdowns. Your support helps us bring smarter tech content every week.